Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be comparing a Mazda MX5 ND to a Honda S2000. So these cars often get compared because they are quite similar, but having owned a Mazda MX5 myself, which I have other videos which you can go and watch about that, and having drove a Honda S2000, I wanted to just share my thoughts on like what I think is different about them and what one I think is better. So I've had my MX5 now, my MX5 ND for, well, I think I have had it for 3 years now. Yeah, literally it's February, so I've literally had this car for 3 years, and I only drove the Honda S2000 for a few days because I rented one while I was in Japan. So this might not be the most accurate comparison, but I still want to share my thoughts. So my Mazda MX5 ND is a 2-litre sport engine, and it has 158 horsepower, and it's completely stock, by the way. I haven't done any modifications. And then the Honda S2000 that I rented had a 2.2-litre engine, and I cannot find how much horsepower this car has. I'm trying to look it up online and I'm really struggling. So if anyone knows how much like the standard Honda S2000 model has, please let me know because I can't find it anywhere. I don't know why. So the first thing I wanted to mention is just to do with the engine and the way the car feels to drive and things is, and I know that this is spoken about a lot with the Honda S2000, but the Honda S2000 does feel so good only when you're higher up in the rev range. But I feel like the MX5 just has more of like a consistent feel when going through the rev range. But the Honda S2000, when you are higher up in those revs, it's so fun. I have a video, I'm going to try and insert it, of me when I was driving through the tunnels in Japan. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. It was so good, and it sounded so good as well. So to compare the weights, I'm actually gonna have to read this off my iPad because I do not remember these numbers. So my MX5 ND weighs around 1050 kg, and the Honda S2000 that I drove weighed between 1280 and 1299 kg. So there is a bit of a weight difference. So the Honda S2000 is a little bit heavier, and yeah, I would say that I did feel that a little bit, but it's only like slight differences. But I think that adds to the MX5 just feeling a bit more fun because it is just that little bit extra lighter. So I noticed with like the weight balance of the car and the cornering feel, my MX5 feels like a more well-balanced car, and I just feel better going around the corners in my MX5 to the Honda S2000. But it's like, when I say this, it's slight differences. They are quite similar cars to drive, so very slight differences. So yeah, in that aspect I do sort of slightly prefer my MX5. I also found that my MX5 had a bit of a softer feel with the suspension, and the Honda S2000 was a little bit stiffer. And I don't know if maybe it's just because it was an older car, but it was just like so loud. Like when we was going over every bump, it was so loud and you could really feel everything in the road. And the roads in Japan are actually amazing. So there's not nearly as many potholes as there are in the UK, but you could still feel everything. I mean, my MX5 isn't exactly really smooth, but there was still a bit of a difference. Like my MX5 is definitely a little bit softer than that S2000 that I drove, but I do wonder if that is a fully stock Honda S2000 or if they had maybe upgraded the suspension, because I don't know if the stock S2000 really has that stiff of a suspension. Like it was really stiff. If you want a video of how it was driving in Japan and like what the roads were like and things, please let me know because I'm thinking of doing a video on that. Okay, so for sound and character, I did much prefer the sound of the Honda S2000 compared to my MX5. I really thought the sound of the Honda S2000 sounded so good, like driving through the tunnels and things. I'll try and insert some videos if you can hear it, but I really enjoyed it. And I think it did sound better only higher up in the rev range, but it was definitely like a different sound to my MX5. And it really made me reconsider getting an exhaust for my MX5 because I do really love that car, but I just feel like it could do with a bit of a better sound. It's just really lacking in that way, I think. I also think the Honda S2000 does have a bit more character to it, especially in the way it looks and especially the way the interior looks and things. but I suppose it is a much older car, so it's kind of obvious it's gonna have a bit more character to maybe my MX5, which is super modern, has all like the modern things. I particularly really loved the dash in the Honda S2000. Like, I literally wish I could swap that dash with my MX5 dash, because I would love that in my MX5. Like, that would just complete, I feel like I just want to make like a combination of both these cars as one car. Particularly about the dash, I love the rev counter. I'll try and insert a clip of the rev counter because it was just so cool. It just looks so like 90s Japanese JDM sports car. I love it so much. And even though my MX5 is a modern car, it still does have like that old school kind of JDM feel to it, but it still has all the gadgets and stuff of it being like a modern car. So I feel like you do kind of get the best of both worlds, but that dash, I need that dash from the S2000. And then looks wise, from the outside of the cars, I mean, I like them both. I think I prefer the rear end of the Honda S2000, but I prefer the front of the MX5. I really love the way like the exhaust look on the Honda S2000, and just it has like a nice sort of squarer kind of back to it. I don't know if that makes sense. Whereas the MX5, it kind of just like rounds off and like ends, and I feel like there's something kind of missing from it. Okay, something I didn't like about the interior of the Honda S2000 is the steering wheel. I don't know, there's something about it. It just doesn't feel as good to grip as the MX5 steering wheel does. I don't know what it is, it's like a bit too chunky. I don't know, like I prefer how my MX5 one, it just feels a bit nicer to grip and hold onto. I don't know. Okay, and for daily driving and just comfort in general, the first thing I want to speak about is the soft top roof. So the Honda S2000 soft top roof had, I wish I videoed like the closing mechanism, but it was a bit more of a complicated mechanism, and I think it took a bit longer than my MX5 did. And that is one thing I love about my MX5 and why I love the soft top, because it is so simple. It's literally just one latch and it goes back within seconds. So I do prefer my MX5 for that, but it's not like a deal breaker thing. It's just something that, yeah, I do prefer with my MX5. So also because the Honda S2000 is a slightly older car, it was just like, it didn't have the features and things that my MX5 has. So it actually did have a screen and it had a navigation system built in, but I was in Japan and I don't think they had like an English version. I'm not sure, I don't remember exactly, but I really like using Google Maps on my phone anyways. So I tried to, firstly, I noticed I couldn't plug it in, so I couldn't play any music. I was just listening to Japanese radio the whole time, which was very interesting. And then secondly, that would be fine, like I'm okay, I can deal with not having the music and things, but I do need my maps, especially being in a different country where I had no idea like about the roads and things, and I had no idea where I was going. I really needed my maps, but I couldn't have my phone anywhere near me, so I brought with me on my trip the little mount thing that you put in the air vents and then you can put your phone on it. I should have brought one of those sticky ones that goes to the window, but I just didn't think, I didn't think I would have this problem. So I had nowhere to like mount my phone near me. So I had to literally end up mounting it all the way on the other side of the car, so like on the passenger side. And so I was literally like reading my maps all the way from over there, and I kept making wrong turns and things. So yeah, I think if I was to have a Honda S2000 here in the UK, I would definitely have to get like Apple CarPlay or something on that screen, because it has a screen. It just wouldn't allow me to plug my phone in, and I couldn't obviously have Apple CarPlay and things, but it's an older car, so it's understandable. So my MX5, I do actually have Apple CarPlay, even though I have the ND1 and I don't think they all came with Apple CarPlay. So I actually put that in myself afterwards. So I literally just get in, plug my phone in, and I've got on the screen my Waze or Google Maps, and I can play my music and things. It's just really simple. And even before I put in the Apple CarPlay, I would just use like the Bluetooth for my music, and then I would just put my phone in the cup holder and it was fine to like see the maps. I mean, I'd still be fine with that now, But I think in the Honda S2000 there was just nowhere to stand your phone near you, so it had to go all the way over the other side, which was a pain. But I don't know if all Honda S2000s are like that. I don't know, maybe if some of them have Bluetooth. I don't know, let me know if you have a Honda S2000 if most of them have Bluetooth, because maybe they do, I don't know. Now for the running costs, I can't really speak much on that because having drove the Honda S2000 in Japan, I mean, they probably have very different fuel prices to us here in the UK. And I didn't drive it for long enough really to know how much I was paying for the fuel anyway. It was only a few days and I think I literally filled up once. I do believe the MX5 is a slightly more economical car. I'm not 100% sure on that, but yeah, please let me know in the comments if you know, or if you have either of these cars, or if you've experienced both of these cars before. Let me know what you think about the running costs of them. But I would assume with the Honda S2000 it's quite cheap as well to replace parts and things, because it's quite a common car and it's literally a Honda, so I would imagine it's kind of similar to the MX5 in that way, where it's like quite easy to get parts. To conclude, I really did fall in love with both of these cars. I mean, the MX5 I fell in love with a long time ago, and I've had that car for a while now, so I would say I got used to it, but not even. Like, I still get on my MX5 every day and I'm so excited to drive it. I absolutely love that car so much. But I really did come home from that trip to Japan really wanting an S2000. And I think there's a reason for that. It does feel like a little bit of a step up to the MX5 in the sense that it just felt a little bit more aggressive than the MX5, and I really liked that and enjoyed that after driving the MX5 for so long, you know. So yeah, for a while I was really thinking about swapping my MX5 for a Honda S2000, but eventually I did decide against that. And I still go back to thinking about the Honda S2000, and I would love to own one day, I really would. But I think for now, the MX5 just works for me more. So what I'm deciding to do now, I think, is rather than go for the Honda S2000, I'm gonna probably just modify my MX5, and I definitely want to get that exhaust. So if you have any exhaust recommendations, please let me know down below, because I'm definitely gonna start looking into that. Because as well, like the Honda S2000, I was looking at the prices, and here in the UK, they're like the same sort of price as my car, and I just don't know if it's worth it for me to swap them out. But I really enjoyed my time with the Honda S2000, and I can't wait to drive one again one day, because before that trip I never really cared much for the S2000, but that trip really changed my opinion on the S2000. Again, please feel free to let me know your different opinions and things down in the comments, and let me know which car you prefer, and if you've drove either one of them, what you think. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I will also link all my socials in the description, so please follow me over there as well, because I post a lot more about my car on Instagram and TikTok, so yeah, make sure to follow me there.